Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2005, Hide and Seek. Without any further, let's get started. The film starts in a park. Allison Calloway is playing with her daughter Emily Calloway, who is 9 years old. Dr. David Calloway, Allison's husband and a psychologist, is also there and observes them playing. At night, after playing a game of hide and seek with Emily, Allison puts Emily to bed. Allison seems to be worried about something. David asks her about it, but she dismisses it. Allison then takes a bath. But when David wakes up at 2 in the morning, he finds Allison still not in bed. When he tries to check the bathroom, he is horrified to see Allison sitting on a bloody tub. She had cut her wrist and killed herself. As she pauses in the doorway, Emily sees David sobbing and hugging Allison's body. A few days later, Emily is in a children's hospital and appears to be depressed. After talking with Dr. Catherine Carson, his co-worker and close friend, David determines that it would be best for him and Emily to spend some time in the country. Catherine is very close to Emily. She gives her a hug and says goodbye before they depart, and Emily brings her cat friend to her new home. David and Emily are finally at their new home. It lies in an area surrounded by woods and is very quiet. After being greeted by the sheriff and the home's owner, while they are exploring the area, Emily vanishes. They find her staring at something close to the wood. That night, Emily refuses to eat anything and wants to go to bed early. David tries to comfort her, but the kid is distraught by the loss of her mother. He then gives her a diary to write down her feelings, after which Emily wishes her favorite doll named Alex good night before going to sleep. The next day, as David is unpacking his possessions in his study, Emily follows a butterfly into the woods and eventually comes onto a cave. When David begins searching for her, she has returned, but Alex, her beloved toy doll, is not. Soon after, he and Emily head out to run some errands. While filling up his car, David notices a woman playing with a young child. Thinking that the kid could potentially end up becoming friends with Emily, and he introduces himself. Her name is Elizabeth Young. She appears to have charmed David, and he extends an invitation for them to visit at some point. That night, as David puts Emily to bed, he inquires about her doll, Alex, to which Emily replies that she no longer likes her. She tells him that she has replaced Alex with her new friend named Charlie. When David presses her further about him, she responds that Charlie dislikes being discussed. When David phones Catherine to tell her about the incident, they both agree that Charlie is an imaginary buddy Emily made up to help her deal with her trauma. That night, when David wanted to take out the trash, David discovers Alex's distorted face in the trash can. Later at dinner, when David tries to bring up Charlie with her, she assures him that Charlie is just as much fun as her mother was. That night, he gets another nightmare. He has been getting the same nightmare of the New Year's Eve party that occurred the night before Allison's death. He is awakened by the nightmare at the precise moment that Allison passed away. He hears a sound and goes to the restroom to see the words, "You let her die." The bathtub is filled and Emily's crayon lay around. He turns around and sees Emily behind him, but when questioned about it, Emily maintains that Charlie was the one responsible. The next day, Elizabeth and her niece Amy visit, and David introduces Amy to Emily. However, Emily doesn't appear to react. As they play, Amy gives Emily her doll because she wants to be friends with Emily. However, when Emily gives it back, its face is distorted, just like Alex's. Amy informs Emily that she shouldn't be here, and because she is afraid, they quickly depart. When David inquires about Amy, Emily responds that she doesn't require any new friends, and that Charlie is sufficient.
I don't need any more friends.
Later, when Emily is playing outside as David is doing the dishes, he notices a man sitting next to her. He goes to investigate and discovers that the man is Stephen, their neighbor. They have an awkward conversation, after which David warns Emily not to talk to strangers.
He's a stranger, honey. It isn't finished. What I'm saying is, it's very important.
Cut to that evening, David hears Emily laughing, but when he goes to see how she is doing, she is by herself. When he asks if he is here, Emily responds that Charlie simply walked out the window. When David tries to discuss Charlie with her, Emily lets her know that Charlie doesn't like him. When David puts her to bed, he records all of this in his journal. Later, we witness Emily and Charlie playing hide and seek when she leaves her room and searches throughout the house for him. After discovering a door behind a closet that leads to a basement below, she continues to search for him. When the lights abruptly go off, she screams in terror. David rushes to her rescue. She tells him that Charlie was hidden in the darkness. The next day, when Elizabeth visits for supper, Emily doesn't appear to like her. Elizabeth tries to talk to Emily and gives her some books to read, but Emily treats her badly and throws all the books on the ground.
Emily.
When David notices this, he orders her to her room, and Elizabeth quickly departs. David wakes up again at precisely 2:06 that night after hearing some noise coming from the bathroom. He walks inside to investigate and notices the words, "Now look what you've done." When David walks in to empty the bathtub, which is filled with filthy water, he detects something inside, the lifeless body of the cat who lived with them. Furious, David goes to Emily's room, but Emily again insists that it was Charlie. He then cleans up the mess in the bathroom. The next day, when Emily shows David the drawings she made of Charlie and her mother, David tries to explain that Charlie is not real, but Emily persists in calling his name.
Who said it?
Charlie! Charlie!
That day, Catherine comes to visit them, who is David's close buddy and Emily's best friend.
Good. Good to see you.
Emily is thrilled to meet her, and when she offers that David take her back to New York, he says he will think about it. After she leaves, David visits Emily's room and discovers that she has illustrated her mother's suicide in the journal he gave her. That day, Elizabeth visits once more, but David doesn't hear her knock, so she enters Emily's room. She has come to make amends, but Emily tells her that she is playing hide and seek with Charlie and pointing at the closet. As she opens the closet, someone attacks Elizabeth, causing her to fall down the window. A few hours later, a sheriff stops over to inquire about Elizabeth. He tells David that he discovered Elizabeth's car down the road and that her niece informed him she had come here. Even though David is unaware of the incident, the sheriff then questions Emily about her, but Emily lies and says she hasn't seen her. After he leaves, David notices a damaged window and feels uneasy. Emily is sobbing uncontrollably as she shows him the time, which is precisely 2:06. Once more, David dashes to the bathroom to see something scrawled on the shower curtain. When he opens it, he is horrified to discover a lifeless Elizabeth in the bathtub. When he returns, Emily is sobbing, but she maintains that it was Charlie and says she is unable to tell David anything about him.
This is him? This is Charlie?
After locking her in the room, David quickly leaves. After we witness someone opening the door for her, Emily phones Catherine to inform her that she no longer wants to play with Charlie. In contrast, David makes the decision to dispose of Elizabeth's body, but by the time he enters the restroom, it has already been removed. Emily says that Charlie just left with it. This has gone too far. David is now furious and is determined to find out who Charlie really is. As he rushes outside to look for him, his neighbor Stephen comes behind him, demanding to see Emily since he has heard sounds coming from their home. David attacks him, assuming that this whole time, he is Charlie. He quickly returns home, locks the doors, and warns him not to disturb his daughter. Emily cries and hugs him, pleading with him not to let her see Charlie again. When David enters his study area, he is shocked to discover that all of the boxes have not been opened since they moved here, and even the journals are empty. He is in shock because he has been in the study writing his journal several times after the move. All of a sudden, he remembers everything, and we discover that Emily met David at the cave that day. He comes to the realization that he suffers from dissociative identity disorder, and that Charlie is indeed David, and not an illusion. Whenever Charlie would emerge, David would be in his study. Finally, he remembers the New Year's Eve party before his wife passed away, where he saw Allison making out with another attendee that night. Charlie was created as a way to express David's rage so that he could murder his wife, something that docile David was too decent to do. Emily kept her knowledge of his split personality a secret from him, because she wasn't sure which of her father's personalities killed her mother until Charlie killed Elizabeth. When Charlie comes out, David never recalls anything. As soon as David realizes this, Charlie's personality takes over and he informs Emily that Daddy is gone. Fortunately, the neighbor phoned the sheriff, who arrives to see how David is doing and discovers Emily in her room. When the lights go out, the sheriff rushes downstairs to investigate, but Charlie kills him. When Charlie realizes Emily no longer likes him, he begins to count and play hide and seek. Emily quickly heads to her room. Catherine arrives at that moment, and as she descends to the basement, Charlie comes up behind her and shoves her down. He locks her there, where she discovers the body of the sheriff. Emily, however, locks herself in her room. Charlie opens the door, but Emily has already fled through the window to the woods and hides in the cave. Before Charlie can reach Emily, Catherine also makes it to the cave, but Charlie poses as David, and as she lowers her defenses, he attacks her once more. Emily diverts Charlie's attention to herself, preventing him from killing Catherine. As he approaches to murder Emily, Catherine stands between them and shoots Charlie dead. A few months later, Emily and Catherine have returned to New York and are content with their new home. As the film comes to a close, the camera pans to Emily's sketch of Catherine and herself. She appears to have two faces, which suggests that she may have two personalities, just like her father. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.